Clash appears headed back to Bowman Gray Stadium in 2026. Let's talk about cautions, because that's what everybody wants to talk about. And Formula One is looking for a bigger payday for their U.S. media rights in 2026. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. I'm not sure if everybody has calmed down from the caution controversy on Sunday night. In fact, I know they haven't, because my Twitter mentions are just full of people telling me why I'm wrong, why I'm stupid, why every race needs to finish under a green flag. We'll talk about that later. Before we get into the news of the day, though, we have a bit of news. IndyCar announced that they will have their 100 Days to Indy docuseries coming out once again. If you remember that, the last 2 years they did it on the CW. They ran it at one of the worst possible time slots you could ever think of, like Thursday night at 10 p.m. on the CW when nobody is watching whatsoever. They did put it on Netflix. People did appear to watch it on there. That's great. But now they found a new home for their 100 Days to Indy. That will be on Fox Nation, you know, the streaming service for Fox News and whatever other random programming they want to put on there. I'm sure Bill Devane's on there promoting some sort of gold or something like that. Is he even still alive? I don't know. Regardless, they found a way to have that show put in front of even less viewers than at 10 p.m. on the CW. So hats off. That's impressive for that. It will be 3 of the episodes will be for the Indianapolis 500, leading up to the 500 as well as the 500. And the final 3 will be for the championship of the series. So it sounds like it'll be 3 episodes. And then we'll be taking a couple months break and then come back for another 3. Not really conducive for, viewers, but it's IndyCar, so we'll see what happens here. People are like, where else were they going to put it at? I don't know, dude. FS1, Tubi, literally anywhere that's not Fox Nation where people are not going to watch. In fact, this weekend watching NASCAR on Fox, I saw that there is a Alabama football docuseries on Fox Nation. Who knew? Terrible promotion. All right. Get into what we want to talk about today. Starting off with some NASCAR news. Adam Stern from the Sports Business Journal has said that 5 people, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5, LeBron James style here. Stern says that NASCAR is leaning towards returning the Clash to Bowman Gray Stadium once again in 2026. The Madhouse, of course, hosted the Clash for the first time ever this year, the exhibition race leading up to the Daytona 500, and it was met with rave reviews from fans, from people at the track, from the teams alike. Everybody had a great time at Bowman Gray Stadium. It was a really fun event. The LCQ was an absolute slobber knocker, as they like to say. We got some viral moments. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wrecking Burt Myers, getting half the crowd, flipping him off. That was crazy. Team Amerivet still out there trying to clown on Stenhouse, even though it was Burt Myers that cleared himself and wrecked himself. But don't let facts stand in the way of a good meme on the internet. And then you also had Ty Gibbs ramping up in the air. NASCAR having a conversation with him to be like, hey, bro, maybe we don't do that going forward. Chase Elliott ends up winning, which is, I'm sure, is why a decent number of people enjoyed the race. But it was a nice change of pace from what we saw at the Coliseum. This track the corners were much more conducive to passing and to like good short track racing. So I think everybody enjoyed it. I mean, heck, who doesn't enjoy a tight quarter-mile track around the football field of Winston-Salem State University? It was a fun time. It's a short drive for the teams. 17,000 fans crammed in there, super passionate fan base. Absolutely love to see that. It's always cool when everybody is like really engaged in what is happening on the racetrack. So I have no problems if they take it back there in 2026, which it sounds like they're going to do. It's one of those things where I think you can do it in 26, maybe not in 27. I think you got to move it around at that point and visit Bowman Gray again, because I think it definitely deserves it. Or maybe even give it to the All-Star race at some point as well. But overall, really enjoyed the Clash this year. Now, there was some talk of NASCAR potentially taking the Clash international. They've had conversations with Brazil about it, things like that. Doesn't appear to be happening. Stern did mention that NASCAR is exploring another exhibition race, which would be international. Kind of seems up in the air if all teams would go, just some teams would go. Regardless, I think that's something NASCAR should do. Obviously, they had the Japan trips back in the 90s. They did some stuff down in Australia as well. I think it's worth having an exhibition race, whether that's in the Middle East, Asia, Australia again, Japan, doesn't matter to me. I think it's good because the global brand of NASCAR continues to expand and continues to grow. And it's an easy way to sort of capture new audiences, but also not take away points paying races here in the United States, even though people are like, I want all my races to be in America. And it's like, well, you're not going to all 36. So like, but they're taking away a chance for me to go. You still have 35. Like there's one race in Mexico this year. And if you want to go to Mexico, you can. Lovely place. So we'll see. But yeah, Clash back to Bowman Gray in 26 seems to be the way that NASCAR is leaning. So it turns out on Sunday in Atlanta, that was the first time a NASCAR Cup Series race has ever ended under caution, or at least that's the way people on the internet are acting, because everyone has seemingly lost their minds over the fact that a race finished under caution and robbed us of a potential 3-wide finish. Now, here's the thing. Did it rob us of a potential 3-wide finish? Potentially. We'll never know because it didn't happen, but there's a good chance they don't cross that finish line 3 abreast like they did in 2024. With Carson Hocevar in the middle, who knows what's going to happen at that point. I've seen everybody post photos of them crossing the finish line 3 wide after the caution came out. And again, that's because they weren't racing back to the line. So I'm not willing to say that we got robbed of anything at this point. Races finish under caution sometime. It sucks. I understand it. Same way we've seen football games in a tie or, walk-off field goal. It's never fun. Fouls at the end of a basketball game. Yeah, it's not how you ideally want something to finish, but that's just what happens at this point. And in motor racing, you always risk having a caution. So yeah, I personally don't have an issue with the fact that this race ended under caution. NASCAR told us on Sunday morning that if an incident like what happened Saturday night in the Xfinity race happened again on Sunday, they were going to throw the caution. Same thing happened. They threw the caution here. It's just kind of the luck of the draw. If you guys want to get mad at somebody, get mad at the drivers for continually wrecking on the last lap and ruining potential good finishes. Now, there's a certain sect of the fan base that's like, every race should finish under green. You just keep going until you get a green flag finish. No, absolutely not. We end up with a disaster like we had in Nashville last year. It makes it look so gimmicky, in my opinion. I think it devalues the race win at that point. And who's to say that you don't have a guy that just continually drives through people and causes accidents just so that they can prolong their opportunity to get that race win? I don't like that idea at all. I think it's just a really good way to tear up equipment and not really get this finish, because what happens then if we have to have a green flag finish, we end up with 6-7 overtimes. And then you have everybody on the internet being like, this is embarrassing. NASCAR shouldn't do this, blah, blah, blah. NASCAR's in a no-win here is what it comes down to. I know somebody's going to say I'm a NASCAR apologist, but in reality, if you just sit back and look at it logically, races finish under caution sometimes. And in a situation like we had on Sunday night, they're going to throw the caution just because they don't want the entire field racing through a debris field at that point. And you can make the argument on whether it was, throwing that caution made it safer or not. It's hypothetical. We'll never know. But in situations, they have to do that. And I know going forward, we're still going to run into these controversies because, like I said yesterday, not every crash is the same. Not every racetrack is the same. So sometimes you're going to have a bigger crash that warrants a caution. Sometimes you're going to have a crash that is, borderline. Sometimes it's going to be a yellow, sometimes it's not. And sometimes you're going to have a one-car spin and they're going to race back to the green because there's no reason to throw a caution for it. So it's always going to be controversial, whether it should be or not. I would typically lean towards not, just because in a situation like what we've seen in Daytona and now here, they're two different types of situations, but different outcomes from it. So my hottest take probably in NASCAR right now is the fact that I think races should end at the advertised race distance. If you say it's 400 miles, we end at 400 miles. If you say it's 500 miles, we end at 500 miles. No overtime. We end the race there. Guess what? We called this the Daytona 500. You were the first one to cross the finish line at that 500 mile mark. You win the race. This isn't the Daytona 505, the Daytona 507 and a half, anything like that. Nope. This is the Daytona 500. This is the Am Better 400 in Atlanta. I stick by that because I think that is, more deserving for the race win. But, obviously, sports are entertainment. I completely understand that. And, some people have pretty passionate ideas about what that is. I just don't think a always finishing under green, rule is something that NASCAR should explore. Life's not fair. Sometimes you go on vacation and it rains. It's just unfortunate, but you can go on another vacation and it's going to be perfectly sunny. You can go to another race. You're going to see a great finish. All right. And last topic of the day, media rights. TV media rights, live sports media rights are all the rage these days amongst TV networks, and ESPN has bowed out of negotiations for Formula One media rights in America in 2026 and beyond. Formula One will have a new home in America in 2026. ESPN right now pays somewhere around like $90-ish million a season for the rights. Formula One is looking for somewhere between $160 and $180 million for the rights on a per year basis moving forward in 2026 and beyond. My dog walked into the office right there, scared the crap out of me. which is fine. Hi, buddy. Jesus. But yeah, so ESPN's bowed out. That leaves Netflix, Amazon, NBC likely to bid for it. I don't think we're going to see them, Fox bid on it. I hope not. At least that would be disastrous, diabolical. Don't want to see that. Obviously, Speed used to be a Fox property when they had Formula One, but I highly doubt they're going to put the same effort in that they did back then. They would probably just do the Sky Sports simulcast like ESPN does. ESPN or Amazon and Netflix getting it is going to be interesting because I have a feeling if either of those properties get it, F1 TV in America is likely going away because the streaming services aren't going to want to have to compete with another streaming service as well, at least not for the money that they're paying for this. So there's in good likelihood a chance that Formula One TV goes away if a streamer gets the rights to Formula One. Here's the thing. I'm not sure Formula One's big enough in the United States yet to go behind that additional paywall like a Netflix, like a Prime, and have people have to pay for that. We've seen MLS do it, and guess what? Nobody's paying to watch that. And if you are, what are you doing with your life? Because MLS soccer is atrocious for the most part. And they're constantly telling us, if you have an Apple device, they're constantly getting ads. They're just like, hey, sign up now. Don't miss a match. No worries. I'm totally fine with missing all the matches. I have a soccer team here in Cincinnati. Never once have I been to a game. Never once have I watched a game. I just do not care. Putting it behind a paywall is certainly not going to help grow the sport, beyond what it is right now. Right now, they average about 1 million viewers on ESPN. F1 TV is probably somewhere in the 500 to 700,000 range. They've never advertised their numbers, and people are going to be like, way more people watch on F1 TV than they do on ESPN. If they did do that, they would release numbers. They don't. They only ever release percentages, which sound great, except for the fact we have no idea what that's in relation to. So I have a hard time believing that more people watch on ESPN or more people watch on F1 TV than ESPN. $180 million though. In comparison, IndyCar right now, Fox is paying about $20 million a year for their broadcast rights for IndyCar. On the NASCAR side of things, NASCAR across all their media partners is taking in for the Cup Series $1.1 billion, somewhere in that range. So yeah, $180 million is tiny in the grand scheme of things compared to NASCAR in this country. But Formula One's continuing to grow. They just certainly don't have the same pool yet as NASCAR does in America. So we'll see where their media rights go, but they will not be going to ESPN in 26. So let me know in the comments what you think about Bowman Gray probably getting the clash again. Should races finish under green? Should they finish under caution? Let me know your thoughts on that. I already have a pretty good idea on what most people are going to say. And then the future of Formula One media rights in America. Who do you think they end up with? Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok @BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook @BreakHardBlog.